it broke out to 375, and I was traveling or passed out or something. I don't know. But I remember not being there in the afternoon and looking at it and being like, damn, I don't drink that much. This is just Vegas. I feel like I'm giving you the wrong impression. Yeah, I'm passed out. I'm typing out of my watch list. That's not my normal, it's just Vegas, okay? Understand that. But it broke out, and the next day, I was bought in. I didn't even... To this day, I still have to talk to Interactive Brokers because even though I was bought in, they didn't notify me of the buy-in. George, and I don't know what I got bought in at. What's up, Ben? 2 questions? All right.
Would you be interested after the conference in collaborating in a serious academic statistical analysis that would yield an optimized version of your strategy?
Yes, if you promise not to use such big words and scare me like that. Next question.
Okay, yesterday you said True Religion Jeans was a pump and dump stock but survived. Why did this one survive if it is known?
That's like, the Hebrew version of the 4 questions. Why is this pump different from all others? Any Jews in the room? A couple? You guys got the 4-question joke. Jews don't laugh out loud, do they? Non-Jews are laughing out loud right now. I'm Jewish. I can make these jokes. I guess I can't make Asian eye jokes. I'm sorry, Harry. I don't know why True Religion Jeans made it. I think it's because there was, it was just, they created jeans just to say they were creating jeans, and the fucking jeans took off. And they were like, screw this making a few million on a pump and dump. Let's sell these fucking jeans for $300. That's a better pump and dump, and now they're a $500 million company. I don't know. I will tell you, I probably told this story a lot, but it just freaks me out where, my ex-web designer used to be, he found me because he used to, work for promoters. He would design their websites. And he told me that one promoter in Vancouver, and I hate to rip on Vancouver incessantly, but it's true. Vancouver is the capital of all pump and dumps. And, if you go up there, do not take, any store or any place for its value. Where, my ex-web promoter was saying, look, this one promoter owned a pastry shop, and they sold pastries out the front, and in the back it was a boiler room. And on the walls were sales sheets, getting people to try, and they had like 20 salespeople trying to call random people and say, buy, whatever stock. Who here has seen the movie Boiler Room? So it was like Boiler Room with a pastry shop front. And what he said, I was like, well, where did they bake the pastries? And he's like, what they used to do is go to the grocery store early in the morning, buy the pastries, and resell the pastries, just so that they would have some pastries to sell in the front. I can't even make this shit up. I mean, that's unbelievable to me. Why would you do a pastry shop? I don't know. I don't know the address. You have to ask a Darsh. There you go. Ask him. Now, I've told this story a lot. I don't know. It's crazy. So you don't know which pumps are actually going to take off, but yes, there is the small chance that they will. And to be fair, there have been a few diamond mines and oil and gas deals that have taken off too. But you kind of see that coming. Like a stock doesn't go from like, a penny to $80.
He says, I'm 20 and flat broke. What should I do? And just have a Glock. He says, I'm 20 and flat broke. What should I do? I just have a Glock. I don't know what to tell you, man.
Overnight, they might get some funding.
But yeah, you're in the right channel, though.
They might get some good test results. So in the funding, it goes here on the initial pump. It might go from like 10 cents to $1. They get the funding, goes up to $2. They get the good test results. It goes to $7. So it's a gradual process. When these other companies like POTG, well, it's not up here anymore. The land that they acquired, which they were hyping up as worth billions. The company from which they acquired it was also public, and that stock wasn't moving. And better yet, the land that they acquired from that other company, if you looked at that other company's SEC filings, they had written that land off as being worthless. and they sold it in exchange for like I think it was like 2 million shares. So this other company is like, look at these idiots here, take this worthless land, give us 2 million shares. But then POTG was the one who packaged it up using the, artistry master manipulators, the Michelangelo promoters, and, they packaged it up and they said, look, this land is worth $1 billion. Was there another question, Ben? No? Question here?
How do you differentiate between a share coupled up with POTG and OPTT? This company trading under its cash value.
Yeah.
So it's a legitimate company that will probably go under one day. It still has 25 million treasuries and 16 million in the bank.
So the question is, how do you differentiate between a real company that is trading under its cash value versus just something like POTG, which is just a total outright scam? You could also say that the pastry shop does bring in revenue by selling pastries, even if they don't cook them there. I'm not saying OPTT is a scam. I'm saying this is the effects of manipulation. POTG is up due to the effects of manipulation. This is up due to the effects of manipulation. I would not stay short this stock forever. I do not think it's necessarily going to break below 250, whereas POTG, if I really wanted to stick around for the long kiss goodnight, it'll be worthless, like MSEH, dropping from $3 down to 12 cents. NXTH, HHWW, KNKT, CPMCF, CPOW, all of these true penny stocks, mostly bulletin boards, they drop to under 10 or 5 cents a share. OPTT, I just think that there's $1 of downside. And at 550, this was caused by buy-ins. So even though I don't know where I was bought in this one day right here, this white candle right here, I think I was bought in around 450. I'm pissed off that IB did not warn me. With buy-ins, you're supposed to be alerted the afternoon before. They're trying to figure out why I wasn't alerted. I've had this problem before. If I'm alerted of an impending buy-in the next day, I always cover, because I do not want the brokerage to cover. Woo! It's the promoters. I don't want the brokers to cover for me, because when brokers cover on a buy-in, they usually cover all of their stocks, all of their different accounts, and the stocks tend to spike, just as OPTT did. Right now, I am short 14,000 shares. I shorted right into the close. I did profit on this big red day. Special broker came through big time. I was down roughly $3,000 by being wrong, shorting in the 3s, covering in the 4s. Very fortunate that the special broker had shares to short in the 5s. I shorted at 517 the other day on Friday, and it collapsed. It was a perfect intraday collapse. We'll go over this tomorrow since I'm still short this stock. But I made back the $3,000. I'm up like, $500, and now I'm short right at the close at 438. I forget my exact average, but it's right around there, 438, 14,000 shares. I think that this comes back down to the mid 3s, because I think this is all due to buy-ins. I know it's due to buy-ins and the promoters, and maybe Lebed hopefully has sold his 177,000 shares. Yeah.
The question of buy-ins on Friday at 12 o'clock was really weird when the stock
Yeah.
435, 5, back down, back up, back down, back up, back down for 15 minutes. There's a discussion about whether I was caused by buying. I would have thought it was the usual finest time of the trading days. Either buy-ins or
So he's referring to this spike right here. This is not a spike. Of course it is. From 440 up to 5, you can see the volume spike on the intraday chart. I was not short this stock overnight, because I was just, I actually was short this stock overnight, but I covered very quickly because there was actually a 10,000 share buy order at 428. I wanted a morning panic. I didn't get it, so I got out immediately at 432 or 433 from my short at like 440 or 438. I made like a few cents a share. I was not just shorting randomly here in the 440s because A, I was planning for this conference, which took a lot of time, and B, I don't like shorting midday. When the stock did spike from 440 to 5, I immediately pulled up my little window and I tried shorting at 490, 480, 470. I couldn't get executed. There's an uptick rule, which is so annoying on this stock, and I couldn't get executed. But yeah, this looks to be like buy-ins. I can't account for anything else. It wasn't like mentioned on CNBC or anything. You don't know. I mean, I shorted into the close just because it couldn't bounce anymore, and I like how many shorts this squeezed out. You know, a lot of short sellers use stop losses, so like, okay, you're gonna short this at 450 or 440, and then it's kind of hanging around. You're like, okay, let's just let it fade, let it simmer. The volume is fading, and then it squeezes up to 5, and maybe you use like a 10% stop loss. So if you're shorting it at 440, you know, and you're giving it 44 cents, it goes up to 480. Your stop loss gets triggered, and you get covered. This is a very good thing for short sellers afterwards, because now we know the weak hands are already out because those idiots use stop losses. I wish I could have gotten short right here. I tried to short 20,000 shares. I would have made, you know, $10,000 just in the afternoon shorting into a spike like that. Yeah, question.
That thing is the truth, boy.
So the question is, if you're notified of a buy-in and the buy-in doesn't happen the next day, you know, like sometimes the buy-in doesn't happen. It's just a warning, a buy-in might happen. So why should you cover? Because sometimes you don't want to give up their shares. I'm come from the school of better safe than sorry. When a buy-in like this happens, which is what we think happened here, you know, you get screwed for 50 cents a share. If I'm shorting a stock and my whole goal is to make 50 cents a share, why would I risk such a spike either intraday or at the open? I wouldn't. I play it safe, I get out. That's it. I saw another question in the back. I'm sorry I didn't answer it before. No? You want a pastry? I think we have pastries in the back. Do we have pastries in the back? We have pastries in the back. But, you know, I'm short this stock over the weekend, and it might not crack, but I think that, you know, this sign, and, you know, we'll get into more chart patterns tomorrow, but this kind of, I guess I gotta go 10-day chart. This, and those of you who were on my profiting chat all day, you know, I was pretty amped about to find 5,000 shares right here. This was after it had spiked up from 5 to 560 in the morning, and then it dropped from 560 down to 480 in about a half hour. That is usually, you know, it's number 4 on my list of 7. You know, especially when it's intraday. When there's like an intraday kind of panic like that, it really freaks out the longs. Just how this spike upwards freaks out the shorts because it takes out a lot of stop losses, this takes out a lot of stop losses too. Because if you're in a pumped up stock, or maybe you believe in the company, you know, but you're protecting yourself, when it goes from 560 down to 480, a lot of stop losses were at 525 and especially at 5. So all the weak hands get out.
I got the knife
it really
at
scares momentum traders because
it's Microtech. So you can just go online and find Microtech knives. You got different places you can go, but yeah, that thing is serious. It's serious, man. You got the glass breaker. You got the skull. You got the skull breaker right here. So that break somebody's skull or break the glass when you're in the water. And then you got the clip. And then then obviously you got the trigger. That trigger is pretty sweet too. Check out that trigger. Yeah, that trigger is sweet, man. Yeah, that thing is the truth, man. And it's one of, well, they make them by the week, so that each one of these have its own serial number. Like this one has a serial number right there. You can't see it, but right here. So they make it by the week, and each knife is different. So not one knife during each week is gonna be the same. So basically, you got a collector. This right here is $300. This knife right here, and you could pretty much, it's sick, man. It's sick. I ain't had no time to play with it, so that's why I'm playing with it now.
Okay, you know, maybe the run is over. So that intraday kind of drop, I guess I need to go to a 2-day chart. And I was short during this intraday drop, and I covered too quickly. as is usual for me. I was just glad to have a profit because I don't like being down 2,000. I don't like Lebed getting the best of me. I think that's messed up. I shorted it right here into the bounce. So, you could say, look, if you want to use the 7-step framework intraday, which I wholly, agree with, you could say that, look, this is the ramp. This is a number 1. It's consolidating. Here's a number 2. You have a technical breakout. You don't really get a supernova intraday, but you get a perfect number 4, where you get the cliff dive. Then you get a dead pump bounce, which is a number 6. You can even buy this for a number 5 at 480 and flip it like at 510 if you want to really get into scalpy Kunal type shit, right? And, here, sorry, it's just an adjective. You look up Kunal in the dictionary and it says, like, Arab scalper. This, or Mexican scalper, whatever, I don't know there's just a lot of hair going on. You have this bounce and it's a good time to short, but this is an even better time to short. And I sent out this on Profiting. This is the beauty of Profiting where, I can send out intraday commentary. And, right here when it kind of looks like it's just like a whimper, for about 20 minutes, it's hanging between 503 and 5. There was a 23,000 sell order, a big block, just showing 23,000 shares. And, perhaps due to the uptick rule, they couldn't short it. I don't know. But it was there. When there's a big block on...
It don't matter, man. I look for top percent gains. I don't give a fuck what kind of stock it is. But marijuana's played out, man. That stock ain't about shit. Unless they pick up a new law or something, you hear some sort of news. Marijuana stock ain't about shit right now. Those fuckers ain't running. I'll tell you what's running. Shipping stocks. Shipping stocks are running like a motherfucker. Biotechs run. That's pretty much it, man. And they got other shit that's be running too, like PRs on press releases. Earnings has been pretty hot this week.
To ask, and it
companies that come out with
really
their earnings quarterly.
And it got eaten away a little bit. Like somebody bought 3,000 shares, but nobody wanted to buy $100,000 worth of stock.
Yeah, fuck marijuana. Unless you hear about news. You see news talking about marijuana, and then see what the stock is doing. If that bitch is moving, then yeah, that's what you need to be worried about. Yeah, fuck marijuana. Unless they moving. If they ain't moving, ain't nothing to talk about.
All right, so base breakouts is a little bit different type of breakout.
Fuck. God damn it. 4.
And when it cracked 5, it had already cracked 5 right here, down to 480. So it wasn't like there were a whole bunch of stop losses here, but this is the first kind of, chink in the armor of a pump when you have this intraday collapse. It happens again and again. LBAS did it when it went from, $1 down to 75 cents, and then it bounced up to 80 for a few days. That was a good time to short, as Captain Pewter knows. What did you short it at? 87? Oh, so you held the whole time. How long did you hold? Like 2 weeks? A month? Oh my God. That's like 10% of your life. I need to work on my math, but it's a big percentage. Anyways, when it drops off here, this is because now, the momentum traders are scared right here. They're scared a lot. But when it cracks here, they're like, all right, I am out. Or maybe it was Lebed selling, but it dropped from 5 down to 404 in about a half hour. This is a perfect kind of drop on a pump. This is what is always possible on every single pump, this kind of collapse. And I covered like a biatch at perfect kind of drop. Here they're like, all right, I am out. Or maybe it was Lebed selling, but it dropped from 5 down to 404 in about a half hour. This is a perfect kind of drop on a pump. This is what is always possible on every single pump, this kind of collapse. And I covered like a biatch at 456 because I was scared that, I was up and I was like, I'm out. And I could have, would have, been more aggressive. but I shorted into the bounce because it was up from 404 to 440. I thought that was overdue. Now you have this kind of sideways price action in between 460 and 404. It is exactly midpoint at 438. You can see here all afternoon, aside from this one buy-in spike, it was flat. It even tried to bounce a little bit at 3 p.m. Maybe, a few shorts don't want to short over the weekend. But the bounce basically failed. And the only reason why it didn't crack 430, I was trying to short 20,000 shares. But the uptick rule, I only got 14,000 executed. I think I sent out an alert that said 12,000. And I was trying to short more, but I couldn't. But if it takes out this 430 level, I think it goes down to 425 and tests this 404. If it takes out 404, you have the big number, magic 4. And remember, the breakout level was 375. So I think that acts as support on the downside. So my shorting 14,000 shares at 438, my goal is to cover in the high threes.
Should have got
I
some
think
bird.
that 375 will hold, but
That Chinese
I think
food,
that
I'm
the floor,
fucking done with that Chinese food. I think
magnet will crack.
I don't think that fridge keeps it cold enough.
It's not just like, Lebed's
Shit
pump,
made
let
me
me
sick,
short
man.
it. This is a very meticulous over the weekend short because there are specific triggers, there are specific chart patterns going on here. It's not just random that it bounced here at 404. It didn't get close to touching 4 because there were a lot of buy orders at 401, 402, 403 because Lebed or whoever wants to stock up is protecting that magnet 4. But now we are set up. It was only up a penny on the day, and that's pretty irrelevant given that, I was trying to short 8,000 or 6,000 more shares into the close and I couldn't even get executed. I had a limit of 430. So whether it closed up a penny on the day or down a penny doesn't really matter. I wish it would have been red. That's fine. But the fact is that this bounce has now kind of failed, and we have this big drop followed by an afternoon dive. This is my kind of a chart pattern. I am now back in control. And it's also easy to borrow with my special broker. This is not a hard to borrow stock. TradeStation also has this. Mark Crook, you shorted this stock, right? Where'd you short this stock? Where in the day did you short this? Right here? Or was it more in the morning? Was it before this drop? Or what time? Give me a time. Okay, so it was somewhere in this mix. You shorted using TradeStation. Okay, so he shorted using TradeStation in the 5. So you were here during this drop. It's beautiful. Where did you cover? He covered at 425. Another example of a student trading better than me. My $2.6 million in career trading profits is misleading. If any of you guys had the same experience as me and were in my spot, I can hope, especially with, this is all hypothetical, but with my kind of training, because I know what I do wrong and I can pass that on to you and help you avoid it. You can trade better than me. And he's doing it, Captain Pewter's doing it. This is the new generation. Old guys, I'm sorry. Again. But, now we have many things going for us. We have the initial drop that scared out the momentum people. We have this drop which just either, is indicative of something. A stock just doesn't drop from 5 to 4 in 30 minutes on no news. Somebody wants out. That's very good. We also have a little bounce. And another kind of buy-in type bounce that scared a lot of people out, which all ultimately failed. You have a bounce attempt here, and you have a weird thing here, and guess what? We're still near these lows. If it cracks 430, we have a big crack right in sight. It would be great tomorrow, and I'm saying all this because, 5 a.m. tomorrow is a very early start time. But right when the market opens at 6:30 shitty Vegas time, this thing might panic. And I want you to understand why I will be covering into any panic, ideally under 4. If it doesn't crack 4, guess what? I might cover at 404 and make 30 cents a share. If it doesn't come close to 404, I might cover at 410. I have to see how far I can go. There might not be an initial panic down to 404 or 410. Maybe it goes up to 450 or 460. Should I add to my position? We'll see. But there's a definitive plan in place here. And the whole thing is that I want those stop losses at 4 taken out. And I would love to cover into panic. It's like surfing. So I hope it happens. I think the odds are good. It's not an ideal pump and dump, obviously, but we're on the fourth wave of this run-up on OPTT. The first one was caused by the emails. The second one was caused by buy-ins. The third one was caused by more buy-ins and maybe a few momentum traders. And now I think it's over and done with. But we'll see tomorrow. I will tell you, stick around. We have pastries in the back. We'll go over. I have more charts tomorrow. We have some big presentations. We have a question in the back. So for those of you on live stream and those old guys who are hard of hearing, Aaron Wise says that the academic paper on promoters, you got that. The academic paper on promoters is a work in progress. How long did we work on it for? 4 months? 5 months? It sucked. I hate academic studies. I greatly prefer short selling. Academia sucks. We need your help. Smarter people. Where's the man-child, Brandon Cruz? I don't know. Maybe he's creating some new software or something. But we would love more data. We're eventually, I think, the world is becoming more transparent, and we will have statistical evidence saying, okay, best damn penny stocks last pump, the last 20 pumps was up an average of 4.05% over the first 24 minutes, stuff like that. That's useful. Anyways, tomorrow, come early, be prepared to trade. We have a lot of great presentations. I have a lot of more chart patterns to go over. Quick question from St. Lucie. Oh wait, St. Lucie. No, so, all right, go ahead. Sure. Why am I such an asshole? The question is, why am I such an asshole? And I would think that it's many years of dealing with assholes in the penny stock world, and people just who are dishonest and students who are lazy, and that's why I have a little bit of an attitude. But I say it, I wouldn't, maybe I can't use the word gracefully, but I say it, all like jokingly, like, so Asians, they don't have peripheral vision, but I love Harry Ye, I love CEO An, I really do want to send him some Omaha steaks or, Omaha sushi, whatever he eats, I say things jokingly just to entertain myself, because if you look at the people who lose money day in, day out, it's very sad. If you don't have humor, if you don't joke about this, you are the precious few who actually want to study and want to profit. Most people just want hot picks. Most people lose some or all of their money in trading, especially penny stocks, and it's very sad. So unless you keep your spirits up, you're going to give in to that, and you're going to think that the task is overwhelming. Because as you become a guru, you'll understand that it is an overwhelming task to teach every single aspect of what you and I know and how we've made our millions, because everybody learns in a different fashion. And this is why teaching trading and teaching in general in the American, educational system, if you want to expand out to that, is so flawed, because there's no one right way. So I make jokes. I'm good at being mean, Does that answer your question? So I might have to make a trade when the market is open. So that's why I have my laptop here. So you'll obviously see, when I'm making a trade, and you'll see exactly how I send out a trade alert. That's always fun if there's a live trade. We have a lot of speakers today. They're all trading based. It's not an accident. I wanna get you guys seeing as many live trades as possible. That's not to say we're gonna force trades. I know there's seminars and trading furus out there who they have like live trading competitions to see who can make like the most in an hour, and they just pick a random stock and they start trading it. Oh, OPTT. See if there are shares to short. Let's see. Interactive Brokers has some? Oh, too late. Somebody just took it. There were shares at 433 and Interactive Brokers has it.
You do not have enough Vonage credit to place this.
What? You gotta have credit now to use that?
This is a 10-day chart of OPTT. Right now I'm short 14,000 shares. You know, I don't know if today is going to be panic. Obviously, I want there to be panic. But, you know, unlike those live trading gurus where they're like, oh, let's trade, you know, a random stock and try and scalp it for 10 cents and be like, here, support here. Like, my stuff takes days, sometimes weeks to set up. You know, we could say that, yes, it is, you know, this drop was predictable based on the fact that it had, you know, my number 1 through 7 framework from yesterday. You know, you could say this is number 1 ramping, even though this is actually the second wave. You could say this is ramping. Here's a little number 2. Little number 2 again. You have the technical breakout right here. Becomes a supernova. Number 3, and you have a number 4, the drop. You have the dip buy, number 5, dead pump bounce, number 6. So now, you know, technically it's a short. I like these big. You can say this is ramping. Here's a little number 2. Little number 2 again. You have the technical breakout right here. So it becomes a supernova, number 3, and you have a number 4, the drop. You have the dip. My number 1 through 7 framework from yesterday. You know, you could say this is number 1 ramping, even though this is actually the second wave. You could say this is ramping. Here's a little number 2. Little from yesterday. You know, you could say this is number 1 ramping, even though this is actually the second wave. You could say this is ramping. Here's a little number 2. Little number 2 again. You have the technical breakout right here. So it becomes a supernova, number 3. And you have a number 4, the drop. You have the dip buy, number 5. Dead pump bounce, number 6. So now, you know, technically it's a short. I like these big sell blocks here. 433, 437. People are wanting to short it. But it does have this kind of bunchiness support in the 420s and 430s. So I'm not sure if today it's going to crack below this key level of 404 and then test this 360, 380 level. I would love it to happen. I'd say the odds are 50-50 right now. We'll see what it looks like when the market opens. But you just can't force trades with this kind of thing. You know, this might take a few days. I mean, we did have the big drop. Sometimes it takes a few days of congestion. As you can see here, you know, you have a big spike up, and then you have 3 days of congestion before another big move up. So perhaps it's similar on the way down, where you have a big down day. We've had 1 day of congestion so far, so maybe today is the second day of congestion, and then, you know, we're just bored out of our minds today. It's possible. This is the only stock I'm short. It's the only one I have a position in. This is my normal, like, trading setup. I mean, I just use E-Trade Pro. I don't use them as a broker. For whatever reason, I've always had good luck with their platform. Just looking, you know, this is my level 2 over here. This is my charting, and here's my little watch list. So it's nice and compact. I'm very used to the software. You just got to use what platform you like. You know, my special broker, I guess I can call them Capstone now. It just sounds weird to call them by their name. My special broker sounds so much better. My special broker, their software, I believe, is Sterling, which doesn't even work on my Mac. So I'm spoiled. Right now I'm IMing with Max, asking him if OPTT is still easy to borrow, and he says yes. So I actually just IM in my orders because I'm spoiled like that, and I pay extra for it. But you know, I don't. My life is more about convenience because I have too much stuff going on. Before we talk more about trading, you know, the market opens in a half hour. I want to show you a few pictures. We're going to be sending you a lot of stuff. Later today, especially, we have, I have to send you a PowerPoint that Aaron Wise worked on comparing the promoters. But we've taken a few pictures, and I wanted to show them to you because they're pretty funny of the conference so far. This one was right before the speakers dinner. You have like these people performing, so I took pictures with them. I thought it was funny. I tweeted it out today. I said, there's some interesting characters at this year's conference, and it was funny. We had a little conversation, and the guy's like, "Oh, this is for Facebook," and I was like, "You guys are from the medieval times. Like Facebook hasn't been invented." And we had a little conversation like The Social Network, and he's like, "I'll invent Facebook," and I was. Who here has seen The Social Network? Raise your hands. Yeah, good movie. You should all see it. And I was like, if you invented Facebook, you would have been the one to invent Facebook. And I was taking lines. He didn't get it, but it was fun. This was the speakers dinner at Postrio. Are there any speakers in the house? Or are you guys all sleeping? Look at Investors Live. Everybody give a big round of applause for Investors Live for showing up. The only speaker to wake up. That sounds terrible. Is there another one? Wait, I think I see St. Lucie, but it's dark back there. I can't see. So he... It's too easy. Come on. It's funny. Oh, wait, he's smiling. I see his teeth. So this was a good dinner. Did you guys like Postrio? Did you have a good steak, Nate? Yeah, it's good stuff. But, there's my parents. Big round of applause for my parents. They are the ones who help me every day, and they put up with my shit. So it's pretty unbelievable. I am spoiled. This was me giving a little speech to the speakers about how I think this is the beginning of a brand new industry.